Hello, I'm Debbie Bell-Hosking for Finextra TV here at Sibos 2023 in Toronto, and I'm joined by Jorn Lambert of Mastercard, and we're looking at digitalized payments. Where are they headed? Jorn, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Debbie.
Absolute pleasure, and you heard my intro. Where are digital payments headed?
Well, so to answer that question, let's just go a couple of years back first, right? Consumers have had a lot to deal with over the past couple of years, primarily through COVID, right? When somebody was in lockdown in COVID, they suddenly had to change their behaviors and their payment behaviors quite dramatically. Suddenly you can't walk to the grocers, you actually have to have the groceries delivered and you have to pay electronically. Suddenly you have lots of time on your hands and you want to watch Netflix or you want to watch Disney Plus and you need to pay that through a digital means. And so we have seen enormous evolution in how consumers use payments in that period of time. And after COVID, they didn't go back to their old wage. They didn't bring out their wallet and their cash anymore. They actually continued to have their groceries delivered at home. They continued to listen to Spotify and to watch Netflix. But what we have seen is that consumers have suddenly been much more open to innovation in what used to be a very conservative sector. People care about their livelihoods, they care about their money. They weren't going to try cool little things like they would do with social media or pictures of their cats. With COVID, they've realized actually payments can bring a ton of convenience to my life, can bring the security that I need, and suddenly they're much more open to try new things. You combine that with technology moving very fast. Nowadays, people can pay a merchant on their phone, and the merchant can accept the payment on their phone. Cloud computing has allowed two kids in a garage to innovate without needing big investments in servers or computers or applications. And you combine that then with a regulatory focus around consumer protection, around data privacy, around localization of data, that I think spurns an enormous wave of further innovation, forces us to adapt, forces the consumers to adapt, and I think the opportunity of that is just fantastic.
Do you feel the regulation needs to catch up with the pace of the digitalization?
To some extent. I mean, look, regulators are there to protect the consumer, and they're broadly doing a pretty good job at it. And that protection is about obviously payments, it's about data and privacy. Companies like ours have to work with it, have to accept it obviously, but has to work with it and has to enable it and change their business and their technology stack to meet those needs. And so in many markets you have regulators that require data storage on soil or even processing on soil. And if you're an international company, that's a little harder, right? Because that just adds costs for us. But it's just the way of doing business in a more fragmented world. Yeah, in some markets they're catching up, but the catching up is often also caution, right? Crypto is a good example. You don't want to start with a whole regulatory framework before understanding exactly what this technology do, what's the unintended consequences. And so we found that regulators are getting more sophisticated, very thoughtful about their approaching, and above all are there to protect the consumer from unintended consequences.
So we're talking about the consumer there. So I'm thinking of my 13-year-old son. He almost really doesn't know a world without a mobile phone, digital payments, instant, real time. That's his experience and that's his world. And as we move forward, how do you see his needs, if we're to use him as an example in a more generalized view, how do you see his needs changing and the industry changing even as we move ahead, say 10 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, this generation has grown up digitally native. They accept things to be very convenient and they accept the clutter and the security be solved by us. And they're right to expect that. That is our job. What we need to deliver to this to frankly everybody, not just your son, is a highly convenient, a highly intuitive experience, but at the same time highly secure. Meaning There's lots of well-funded fraudsters out there that are after people's money. It is our job to make sure that every transaction is authenticated, is secure, the money cannot be stolen, but the data cannot be stolen. And the bulk of the work that we're doing is exactly that. A payment system without trust is dead in the water, right? And the investments around fraud and authentication are about that. Today, you probably use your phone for contactless payments with a biometric, but your e-commerce transaction on web, you don't do that with a biometric authentication. Give it 2-3 years, pretty much everything you will do will be with a highly secure biometric. And that is just the way the world is evolving. Hopefully seamlessly, hopefully your son or you don't have to worry about that, don't do anything about it, we'll do that with you. But that's the type of investments that we're making to make it secure and convenient at the same time.
So do you think perhaps that's the biggest challenge you're facing right now, is the security and the convenience?
Yeah, it's
how it works together?
It's the bedrock of payments, right? Well, actually, I would say the bedrock of payments is security, is resilience. It needs to be always on, right? It's completely unacceptable that a system like Mastercard would even for 2 minutes be down, right? They're always on, and then indeed convenient, because nobody gets up in the morning and says, I want to make a payment. You want to do something else, and we want to make you put you in a position to do that.
But to do the something else, you need to make a payment often.
Very, very softly, very seamlessly, and highly securely, so that you can enjoy whatever you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. So, as we wind up this interview, what would you say, from Mastercard's point of view, is your highest priority right now, and what you're working on in terms of meeting those client needs? Yeah.
So we talked about the payments today, but there is an entire era of payments that is not yet as convenient and secure as it should, right? And we believe the opportunity out there to increase acceptance to pretty much every entity or merchant who wants to sell something. The opportunity to move into social commerce, to move into EV charging for a car, to move into bill payments, which is often quite inconvenient, to move into transit. I don't know if you know the London Tube, or actually you're Australian, I guess, so the Opal card. So much to make more convenient and more seamless. The opportunity to have financial inclusion for 1 billion people who are stuck in the cash economy. All that is part of this digital payment trend. And so our biggest priority is, let's kind of go after that enormous opportunity. Let's do it in a way that brings trust to consumers, that keeps consumers' money safe, and that helps people doing what they really want to do.
Thank you, Jorn. It's so interesting listening to you and how payments are evolving, what we're doing, and just reminding ourselves of where we are. And almost hearing the way you're talking about digitalization and payments is almost like a bird's eye view on how society is changing as well, and the two seem to be working in tandem.
Absolutely. Everything that society does ultimately needs to be paid by somebody, to somebody, and that's what we're trying to do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jorn. Great to speak to you.